Hello, my creeplings. Tonight we're going to hit on a classic in the comedy horror genre called An American Werewolf in London. So let's get to it. American Werewolf in London, released in 1981, written and directed by John Landis, Blues Brothers, Animal House, that John Landis. Also the guy responsible for bringing us Michael Jackson's Thriller because of this movie. Michael Jackson watched this movie, loved it so much, had John Landis come in and do the Thriller video. So, because of this, we got a really cool, iconic 80s Michael Jackson video. So, yay. I'm just going to get down to it. This has got a pretty good cast list. David Naughton is a character named David Kessler. Griffin Dunn is Jack Goodman. I keep wanting to say John Goodman, so I apologize if I slip. We have a cameo by Frank Oz, Mr. Fozzie Bear, Miss Piggy, Yoda himself, Mr. Muppeteer, Jim's right-hand man, the guy who directed Little Shop of Horrors that we just went over a little bit ago. Frank Oz makes a cameo. There's also an English actor named Sidney Bromley in there that you might look at him and go, where do I know this guy from? If you're someone my age and you've watched The Neverending Story about, 8 billion times, he's in The Neverending Story. That's where you saw him from. I'm not going to go into that one anymore. That's a whole maybe video and a half on its own, The Neverending Story. Let me know if you want to see that. So, basic plot. Here's where Mel tells a story. David and Jack are hitchhiking through the British moors. They are getting cold, they are getting tired, and they are getting hungry. So they come upon a pub called the Slaughtered Lamb. Now, with the Slaughtered Lamb, you would imagine a sign with a dead lamb on it. No, it's a wolf's head with a sword poked through it. Kind of off-putting, but they go in anyway. And you get the classic scene of everyone in the bar is silent when the Americans walk in. But soon enough, things kind of relax a little bit. But Jack, being Jack, you find out, or I kind of feel like Jack's always been the annoying sort. Definitely is in this film. Keeps pointing out that there's a 5-pointed star on the wall with 2 candles flanking it. And oh my God, what's the superstition on that? These are weird people. These are cult leaders. These are cult people. All this stuff. Rudely, he asks them about it, and they kick their asses out. They kick their butts out into the oncoming. It sounds like there's a thunderstorm coming. And the lady who runs the bar is like, you can't turn them out. And he's like, no, they're fine. She's like, no, you can't turn them out. You find out why. Because the whole town believes that there's a werewolf haunting the moors, and it's the full moon. Well, lo and behold, they are right. There is a werewolf on the moors, and it attacks Jack and David. Now, Jack dies. Jack is mauled and mangled and dies. David, on the other hand, apparently the villagers decided to go out to see if they were okay. They end up saving him by shooting the werewolf. And as David's getting ready to pass out, he sees the creature that he keeps describing throughout the rest of the movie fall down as a dead man. Like a human man is now laying dead beside him where a bleeding out creature should be. He passes out. 3 weeks later, he wakes up in a London hospital. They explain to him Jack is dead. This is where Frank Oz has his little cameo as a member of the American Embassy, and he's a clueless man, this character, when it comes to tact. This is where the comedy parts start coming in. David starts to get friendly with his nurse, Alex. And at the same time, he starts having bad dreams. One of them is Jack visiting from beyond the grave to explain what happened. Now, here's where the fun parts come in, because these makeup effects done by Rick Baker, also known for doing Michael Jackson's Thriller, and a bunch of other stuff. These are some great effects. I mean, he's a fresh kill, so he's got his throats all rubbed. There's dangling bits of skin, bloody. Oh, it looks so good. Jack comes back and says, no, I'm not dead. I'm undead. I am stuck here in limbo until the bloodline of the wolf that killed me died. You're infected. The next full moon, you're going to turn. You need to kill yourself so I can lay to rest, so you don't kill anybody else. And of course, David thinks this is just a dream, like the dream of him running naked through the woods and stalking a deer, or there's others. There's this weird werewolf SS slaughtering his family dream. I mean, he's getting these really funky, weird nightmares. And I'm only making the assumption that this has to do with the lycanthropy and infecting him and infecting his mind. But that's just my theory. It's never mentioned in the film why he's having the nightmares, but he's having nightmares and he thinks Jack is one of them. He's released shortly after. Now, the entire time he's been in the hospital and gets released, he and Nurse Alex get pretty close. Close enough that she's like, you don't have anywhere to go, you can stay with me. Well, they hook up. Surprise, surprise. She's cute. He's cute. It's gonna happen. She goes to work the next day, leaves him alone in her apartment, and this is the first night of the full moon. Now, the night before, after he and Alex hooked up, Jack visited him again. A little bit more rotted out, more gray, more gross. He's in a lot of shadow, though, so the effect doesn't read as clearly as the first effect did. But it was still, I've seen pictures online years and years ago. It still looked really great. And he's like, dude, you've got to kill yourself. He's like, I'm not talking to you. This isn't real. You're my imagination. You're a bad dream. Well, we find out exactly how bad that dream was, or how much of a dream it wasn't. Because as soon as night falls and the moon is out, he goes through this ridiculously detailed and painful looking transformation. Now, if you read articles, John Landis says he kind of regrets lingering on the transformation as much as he did, but he was just so enthralled by Rick Baker's effects. I can see where he's coming from on this. Yes, the transformation is a very long piece of scene, or I don't know. We'll call that whole night bit there a scene. It's a long bit of it, but because the effects are so good, because it's played so well, yes, I felt it was very effective. I believe this won the first Special Effects Makeup Academy Award. Let me check that before I know it won awards for its makeup. I don't know if it was the first, though. And, of course, I'm an idiot and did not leave it on there. But it won awards for its makeup. And it really did deserve it. Okay, so he changes. He goes rampaging. I believe that first night he kills a couple. He kills a man on the subway, and he kills 3 bums. Okay, so about 6 people? He has 6 more souls that are now at unrest due to him. Alex comes home, finds out he's not there. Now, the whole time that this is happening, the doctor that treated him is getting a little, he's suspicious of how David ended up in the hospital and how he might be crazy. They don't know. So he goes and investigates. He goes to the slaughtered lamb. He asks a few questions. One of the villagers kind of gives up a little bit of the info. And enough of it that the doctor's convinced that David might feel like he's a werewolf and might harm people because of a psychosis. So he's trying to get Alex to bring David to the hospital for observation. Well, David's not there till the next morning after he wakes up naked in the wolf pen at the zoo. He makes it back to Alex's apartment. She's like, let's just go to the hospital so that he can, the doctor can check on you and stuff. Well, and here's where my mind started to get a little lost because of the story beats were moving at a certain pace that I wasn't following. I don't want to say they were moving too fast. I think I might have been getting tired. I was watching this late last night. He runs off He's like, no, for some reason, he figured he wanted to get away from Alex and keep her safe. He ends up in Trafalgar Square, I believe, or Piccadilly Circus. One of the two. Again, let me check my notes. Okay, he goes to Trafalgar Square and tries to get himself arrested. It doesn't happen. Kind of shades of, I'm a werewolf, you need to lock me up, from Monster Squad. He goes to a phone in Piccadilly Circus and calls his family, tells them he loves them. And he tries to slit his wrist, but he just can't do it. At this point in time, Jack shows back up. Even more crusty and gross. Gets David into, of all things, a porno theater. So yes, there's going to be a lot of boobies in this last half. And that's kind of the comedy there, is that you've got all this nudity and nookie and stuff going on the screen, and there is a rotting corpse. And by this point, this is a puppet or animatronic or something, with Griffin Dunn doing a voiceover, but like the lips are all decayed off. He says it's like this. And all the other victims are there. And they pretty much try to, they give him several different ways to off himself. And it's like, dude, you need to die. This needs to be over, because I do not want to be roaming around as undead. And again, all the while, nookie and nudity is going on over here. To really hammer the point home, he transforms in the theater, kills a couple more people, escapes into Piccadilly Circus, and Alex tries to talk him down, which doesn't work. She admits she loves him. Earlier on, he admitted he loved her, and then the police take him down, and he's dead. And that's the end of the movie. I thought this movie was going to be better than it was. I think because I'd heard so much hype about it. I think I've only seen bits and pieces of this film up until my watching for this. I watched the whole thing through. It is not a bad movie. I think I just expected it to be better. I know there is a sequel to this movie, An American Werewolf in Paris. I have seen it, and it sucks. Just do not waste your time on it. It's terrible. This movie was better. This movie was... I'll watch it again, especially if we're having a themed movie night, or if I'm going to a John Landis a retrospective or something for a film festival. I would watch this movie again. If I was, not doing anything and it was on cable, I would watch this movie again. It's a nice popcorn film. But there are others I think I'm going to reach for before this film. But it's not a bad movie. The effects are amazing. Rick Baker is in my top 10 of makeup effects people. One of these days I might make that top 10 list and discuss it. So there's something to look forward to. And like I said, I'm thankful for this for giving us Thriller, because Thriller was a huge part of my every year throughout the month of October, especially that last week or 2 weeks. MTV or VH1 would show the making of Thriller, and then the long form video for Thriller would be playing. It'd be on every one of those, top 10 Halloween videos or whatever. So I'm thankful for it for giving us that. If you actually watch this movie and then you watch Thriller right behind it, you start noticing where some of the effect techniques, I think Rick Baker calls them gags, overlap. Where they got, we did that American Werewolf, let's do it in Thriller, because it's the same kind of metamorphosis change thing. And again, that metamorphosis scene, that changing scene, that looked so brutal. And I mean, I would imagine if you're changing from a full-grown 6-foot something human man into a large man-wolf, or into a large wolf, the bone stretching, the muscle stretching, just the face, oh my God, that has to hurt. That has to hurt so much. And he sold it. He really did. And Rick Baker made it look good. The score is interesting because, or the soundtrack, I should say, is interesting because it It's mostly upbeat, like actual songs, but they all have the word moon in their theme, like Blue Moon and Bad Moon Rising. So it's this kind of juxtaposition of all this weird supernatural crap going on with happy pop. It's almost jarring to a point. This is not my favorite John Landis comedy. I think I'm more of a fan of Animal House and the Blues Brothers. But again, like I said, the effects are great in this. The acting is solid. There are some Britishisms. So if you, excuse me. So if you're not really familiar with some British slang and stuff, you might get a little lost. But not so much that you can't understand what's going on. Yeah, I would watch this one again, but it's not the first film I'd reach for if I want a good werewolf film. I'm actually still trying to find a really good werewolf film that I've watched from point A to point B. There's a lot of decent ones that I've like seen bits and pieces of because I've been flipping through cable and caught the last half of it or something. I'm definitely more of a vampire than werewolf girl, and which is sad because I love the idea of lycanthropy. I just haven't found anything that translated well to the screen yet. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. American Werewolf in London, pretty decent flick. I thought it would be better. I would rewatch it. Taking recommendations for good werewolf movies so that maybe I can widen my view a little bit. But on that note, I'm going to say goodnight, my creeplings, and I'll see you next time.